Are you ready to create a stunning lace sweater and take your knitting skills to the next level? In this tutorial, I will show you how to knit the Halcyon sweater, a simple lace design that's perfect for advanced beginners. Hello my friends! I am excited to let you know that knitting lace can be easy and fun. With my easy-to-follow instructions, you will knit an elegant lace sweater, even if you have struggled with knitting lace before. This lovely pattern is created using only 2 stitches. Yarn over, purl two together. Yarn over, purl two together. That's it. And the best part, only 1 row repeat. So you don't have to worry about counting stitches and rows while knitting. This stitch pattern will take you in a meditative state and help you enjoy the process of knitting even more. Don't hesitate, you can definitely do this. I will be demonstrating how to knit this pattern in size S. This pattern comes in size ranging from XS to 3XL, so you can find the perfect fit for you. Just check out the PDF file for corresponding instructions. You can download it from my Etsy store or Ravelry. Ravelry! Also, I would like to invite you to join our community on Ravelry. I've created a group where you can share your work in progress, ask for advice or opinion, and exactly celebrate your finished Halcyon sweater. You can find the link to the group and the PDF file in the description below this video. I have to admit, I fell in love with this sweater right from the beginning of knitting the back piece. As soon as I tried on the knitting fabric, I couldn't wait to see the final result. I even showed my knitted sweater to my husband and asked, "Have I already shown you the beautiful sweater I am making?" And he replied, "Yes, 100 times." I have to say, I have never been so excited about any of my previous knitting projects. Now, let's talk more about the sweater. For this project, I use the pure cotton yarn in off-white color from Drops Paris. The yarn is DK weight, so it won't take forever to complete. I've become quite familiar with this knitting stitch and have already knitted 2 other tops using the same lace stitch combined with stockinette stitch. It's amazing how versatile this pattern can be. I am planning on creating a knitting instruction for each of them. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new video tutorial. The sweater features a simple straight shape that is perfect for beginner knitters. The back, front and sleeves are all the same rectangle shape that is knit separately and then sewn together. The process is very easy and straightforward. If you are new to sewing seams in knitting, don't worry, it's very easy. I will show you the entire process step by step so you can easily follow along. In addition, I will demonstrate how to pick up stitches for the neck and achieve a finished look that you will be proud of. I know how frustrating it can be to spend a lot of time and effort on the project only to be disappointed with the end result. But don't worry, with this sweater there are a few easy fixes for common issues with sleeve length or sweater length. I will also share some helpful tips to make the process even easier. So you have very little chance of not finishing this sweater successfully. In the final part of this video, I will give you some inspiration how to style this sweater. It might give you some ideas for your own wardrobe. Are you feeling inspired to give it a try? Let's go!
Let's knit a swatch so you can get a better idea of how your yarn will look in the final garment. I will be using the twisted rib stitch for the swatch, but you also have the option to use the regular rib stitch. To begin, you will need a pair of 6 mm or US 10 knitting needles with a total length of about 60 cm or 24 inches, and the yarn of your choice. Something similar to Drop Paris yarn would work great. If you are looking for some inspiration or recommendations, check out the PDF knitting pattern that I have linked below this video. It includes a list of suggested yarns to help you to get started. Cast on an even number of stitches. I will be casting on 16 stitches. How to knit the classic 1x1 rib stitch. For my ribbing, I like to use a smaller needle size, 5mm or US 8, to achieve a firm and elastic edge. Here's how you do it. Slip the first stitch for a nice edge. Knit the next stitch through the front loop. Purl the next stitch through the front loop. Repeat these 2 stitches to the last stitch. Purl the last stitch for the edge. Keep repeating these steps until you have worked 5 cm, 2 inches, or your desired length of ribbing. For the twisted rib stitch, start by slipping the first stitch. Then, knit the next stitch through the back loop. And purl the following stitch through the back loop as well. Keep repeating these 2 stitches until you reach the last stitch, and then purl it. Walk this pattern for about 5 cm or 2 inches. Here is it, the lace stitch. First, slip 1 stitch knitwise, then purl 1 stitch. There are always 2 edge stitches at the beginning and at the end of the row. Then yarn over, purl 2 together. And repeat these 2 stitches, yarn over and purl 2 together until there are 2 stitches left. Purl the last 2 stitches. On the second row, you will repeat the first row. Slip 1, purl 1, yarn over and purl 2 together. Then purl the last 2 stitches. Continue with this row until you have reached your desired length, approximately 15 centimeters or 6 inches we rib. Tip number 1. If you're having trouble with tension, try switching to wooden or plastic needles instead of shiny metal ones. They have more grip and make it easier to control the yarn. Also, it's important to find a good way to control the tension of your yarn while knitting. I personally wrap the yarn around my fingers 2 or 3 times in a specific way, but you should find the method that feels most natural for you. Tip number 2. Use your finger to hold the stitches on the left needle to prevent them from slipping off. I had to unravel my knitting a few times before I discovered this, so I hope it helps you too. Tip number 3. Keep a crochet hook handy while knitting so you can easily pick up any dropped stitches. Tip number 4. Use a knitting lifeline every 10 centimeters or 4 inches. This can save you a lot of trouble if you drop a stitch or make a mistake. Simply thread a tapestry needle with a piece of waste yarn and insert it through all the stitches currently on your needle. This creates a safety net that you can use to pick up any difficult stitches or unravel a small section if needed. Don't skip this step, especially if you are working on a big project like a sweater. Tip number 5. Join the new skein of yarn at the edge to avoid knots in the middle of the sweater. When your yarn is almost finished, make a knot and leave a short tail at the beginning of the next row. Slip the first stitch and join to the second one for a neater finish. I love this pattern because I know how to fix any mistakes, either by hiding them in the pattern or by unraveling a few rows to a lifeline. The knitting lifeline is the best tip I have learned. And what's your favorite knitting tip? Please share your knowledge in the comments. Other knitters, including myself, would be grateful for your insight. So let's take a closer look. Feel the texture and stretch it gently to the sides. I'm really pleased with how the rib structure and delicate lace pattern turned out. This is an elastic knit stitch, so keep in mind that if you knitted a small sample, the finished sweater will be wider. But don't worry, I have accounted for this in each size in the knitting pattern.
When I started creating this sweater, I really wanted to create something that I would enjoy wearing, rather than something that would just end up collecting dust. While I love knitting, I am tired of spending hours creating something that never gets worn. That is why I believe in mindful knitting and taking my time at the start. It's like going on a first date before jumping into a relationship. We should take the time to get to know the pattern before starting to knit a garment. Mindful knitting starts with creating a swatch. Buy a single skein of yarn and use the recommended needle size to knit it. We don't just knit a swatch because designer tell us to, but because we want to make sure we genuinely like the pattern before committing hours and days to knitting it. Well, what do you think of your swatch? Did you have fun with it? Don't forget, knitting is all about enjoying the process of creating something beautiful. If you are ready to knit an absolutely stunning garment, let's get started.
The first step is to cast on the right number of stitches for your size. I usually use the long tail cast on method, but you can use any method you prefer. It's up to you. I'm making size S and cast on 70 stitches. Don't worry, you will definitely find your size in the PDF knitting pattern linked below. Great, now we are ready to move on to the next step, knitting the rib. The first row is a setup row, and we sleeve the first stitch knitwise, and then just knit 1, purl 1, and repeat to the last stitch. Purl the last one. Setup row is done. Row 2. I will knit a twisted rib, but you can continue with the regular one. Slip first stitch knitwise, and knit the knit stitches and purl the purl stitches, both through the back loop. If ribbing is challenging, don't fret. Instead of knitting through the back loop, try knitting through the front loop. It's a simpler method and won't affect the look of your ribbing. So, give it a go and see if it works better for you. I've knitted 5 centimeters or 2 inches so far. Now it's time to start knitting the last stitch. Slip the first stitch knitwise, but not too loosely, as it will be needed later for seaming. Purl the next stitch. The next one is yarn over. Move the yarn to the front of the work, then over the right needle to the back. Purl 2 stitches together. Insert the right needle into the next 2 stitches from right to left. Wrap the yarn around the needle and pull it through both stitches. Keep knitting like this, switching between yarn over and purl 2 together until the last 2 stitches of the row. Finish the row by purling the last 2 stitches. Simply repeat the previous row until your project reaches your desired length. There is something really soothing and meditative about this process. It allows you to really focus on the rhythm of the stitches, so don't be afraid to give this technique a try, even if you are a beginner. It's a great way to create something beautiful and unique, and you might even surprise yourself with how much you enjoy the process. Just keep knitting, stay relaxed, and have fun with it. Great job! We are almost finished the back piece. Let's measure it to make sure our knitting is the right size. It's important to have a flat and steady surface. To measure your project, you can use a towel to prevent it from slipping on the table. This will make sure your measurements are correct and make your knitting experience smoother. Place the knitting piece and straighten it out without pulling or stretching too much. Then take a measuring tape and measure the length and width of your piece. If the measurements you have obtained meet your expectations, we can proceed with finishing the back piece. I hope so. If not, you can adjust the size by going up or down a size. Check your gauge or try measuring again. To make cast off in the next row easier, choose the wrong side of the back piece that you like more, and in the last row, slip one stitch knitwise, then purl the remaining stitches. Okay, now it's time for the final cast off. Try to keep it relaxed for a neat finish. You are almost done. We have finished the back piece. Don't worry if it is not perfect. Knitting is all about learning and improving as you go along. I hope you have enjoyed the process and had fun creating something beautiful. So, let's try our knitting to check if we are happy with it. I have a great news for you. The front piece is identical to the back piece, which means you are already halfway through making your very own sweater. Just repeat everything you did for knitting the back piece. Done. You are almost ready to try on the sweater. All that's left is to make the shoulder seams. Put both knitted pieces in front of you with wrong side facing inward, and you should see the nice edges. We will sew the pieces together using the right side. Before starting to sew the shoulder seam, make sure you are sewing the right size of the front and back pieces together. I measure how long the shoulder seam needs to be by starting from the outer edge of the shoulder. Then I mark this length with a marker. Then repeating on the other side. I prefer to count the stitches rather than measure, but if you want you can use a measuring tape. Take a tapestry needle and a piece of yarn. Start at the outer edge of the shoulder and sew towards the neck, using a simple stitch to attach the front and back pieces together. Keep sewing until you reach the marker. Make sure to secure the yarn. However, be careful not to cut it too short, because you might need to adjust the size of the neckline later. Well done! Now, repeat the same steps on the other side of the sweater to create the second shoulder seam. Remember to count the stitches or use a measuring tape to ensure both sides are the same length. Let's try on the sweater for the first time. This will give you an opportunity to see how the sweater fits and make any additional adjustments if necessary. If you will find that the neckline is too tight or too loose, you can easily make changes by unraveling the yarn. Once you are satisfied with the neckline, use a tapestry needle to weave the ends of the yarn. Using a crochet hook is my preferred method for weaving the ends of the yarn, but feel free to use whichever technique works best for you to ensure the yarn is secured and won't unravel.